Got you. Hold on. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Mama, she just came out. See, she's saying, and Your Honor, she just made the point of
I'm going to continue to say
I'm not the type of person that will break up a happy home.
Oh, well, your home was already broke up, and your home was not happy. When I came into the picture, your home was broke up, and it wasn't happy then.
She called and said, hey, I'm coming over to pick something up. So why would I be bending over to bed like that?
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe because you
there and you had more than 2 shots.
Maybe because she still wants him.
Mr. Buchanan claims to have very strong evidence that his girlfriend slept with his best friend. His girlfriend, Ms. Stembridge, says that this is impossible, but Mr. Buchanan's ex-girlfriend claims that she saw Ms. Stembridge being intimate with the man in question. And that's the reason Mr. Buchanan says that Ms. Stembridge's child isn't his.
Yeah, we was actually at a store. We took Eric up to the store. He was in the back seat already drunk. Jessica went in to go get his beer, which, I mean, why are you getting him beer? You know what I'm saying?
He could have got it himself, Your Honor.
Well, you went in there to
You're
get
his
it.
best
You went
friend.
in there to get it for him,
You
so.
should have got it.
So
I
you
mean,
got into an argument over the beer?
Okay, so you're best friends with him then, obviously, if you went in there. But anyways, you know, me and Eric was in the car while she in there getting his beer. And this was actually the day after.
Okay. Mr. Buchanan here is a great orator and he isn't scared to explain all the nitty-gritty details to us. But is all of that really necessary? Anyway, Mr. Buchanan says one day he got back from jail after being incarcerated and this is what he saw.
All right, we're staying with Eric. All right, so I walk in there. What do I see? Lemon drops laid out everywhere. I ain't talking about no candy. I ain't talking about no candy. Look, she already knows. Look, I ain't talking about no candy.
There was 2 shot glasses laying on the table.
When you walked in and you saw the drinks out, in your mind you thought she's drinking with him again, and she said that was only a one-time thing.
Wow, that's definitely evidence of hanky-panky, right? Well, things get even weirder when a woman is introduced into this narrative. And this woman is Mr. Buchanan's ex-girlfriend. This ex-girlfriend called Mr. Buchanan and basically told him that his girlfriend was cheating on him with his best friend, which, as you'd expect, leads to even more chaos, as Ms. Stembridge didn't appreciate that very much. Here is how that went.
This is a girl right here, all right? Had my back since
Why are you mad, Jessica?
Had my back since day one.
I ain't talking to you.
Well, good.
Had my back since day one.
Well, go be
Ms.
with her then.
McNeil,
Go be with her.
come on, up to the
please.
podium, please. Now, Mr. Buchanan says that you witnessed firsthand
Yes, ma'am, I
some
did.
very
Disturbing.
inappropriate behavior.
That was not
Ms.
going on, Your
Girlfriend.
Honor.
What a mess. No one is even speaking about the poor baby at the center of this all. It's just a bunch of adults doing all they can to one-up one another and say the worst things they can possibly say on air. Insanity doesn't even begin to describe it. Anyway, Ms. McNeil, Mr. Buchanan's ex-girlfriend, decides to show us through a chart just how much of Ms. Stembridge's stuff was in the air.
This is the door to Eric's room. I walked in, standing right there.
Nope, that's a lie, Your Honor. Because I would have seen her. I ain't never seen this girl in my life.
You ain't never seen me in your life.
No, not other
That's
than
a lie.
pictures in his
Look,
phone.
look.
Pictures in his phone.
Yeah, in his phone.
See, that's
right,
wrong.
in his
I
phone,
weren't even
that's
laying
right.
that way. I weren't even
She
laying
was
that
laying
way.
like
No.
All I saw was booty.
Well, who wouldn't take a free liquor shot? Anyway, Ms. Stembridge insists that all of this testimony is just one huge giant lie trying to destroy her life. Also, Ms. Stembridge says she's never seen this woman before in her life, which is kind of a hard sell, given just how mutually they clearly dislike one another. But let's see how Ms. Stembridge sells it.
Ms. Stembridge, so you're saying you have no recollection of her even being in the house?
No, and this was during the daytime
And you
because she
don't remember
called, she called Eric and said, hey, I'm coming over to pick something up. So why would I be bending over to bed like that?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe because it took me a
Maybe
little longer
because
to get there and you had more than 2 shots.
Maybe because she still wants
That's
him.
why you don't remember.
No. Get your story straight. Get your
That's
story
all right.
straight.
This is one fantastic show we've all gotten today, and we can only hope that it gets better. Ms. McNeil has even more things to say, and it's kind of obvious that Ms. Stembridge doesn't even know how to counter or reply to her. Take a look at this, for instance.
Ask
You
him.
did.
I won't
You
call.
did.
Yeah, I
You did,
showed
though.
up one time and she was there. They wouldn't open the door. That's why she claimed
The
she ain't
door
never seen
weren't
me.
closed.
And it was
Front door. They wouldn't let me in the house because you was in there.
Let's move on. Ms. McNeil, you may take a seat. Thank you so much. All right.
That's exactly the word, Judge Lauren. Wow. Now it's time to find out what the truth is. Is the child for Mr. Buchanan or for someone else?
Mr. Buchanan, you are her father.
Thank you.
That's a blessing. You must have did something when I already got it knocked off.
Thank you.
They ran out of lemon, or you already...
Thank you. Thank
It's
you.
obvious that you're happy and
Oh,
you're
yeah.
pleased.
Yeah, I love that baby to death. I'm glad she's mine.
Ms. Jackson is in court today to defend her cheating husband and prove that even though he might have a mistress, he isn't the father of that mistress's child. The mistress in question, Ms. Lipscomb, thinks all of this is monumentally silly. Anyway, here is how Ms. Jackson narrates her peculiar situation.
I feel as though there's something going on that you hadn't told me, because he had been distant in the days prior to. I had put him out. So, Your Honor, and as we were standing outside talking, we were in the front of the building, and the defendant pops up in the car like she's Ricky Raccoon or somebody, Your Honor. Upon hearing my voice, I turned around and I went and knocked on the window. I asked her if she knew my husband. I called him by name. She said she did.
And that's exactly when all the problems began. Ms. Lipscomb then told Ms. Jackson about how she'd been intimate with her husband and was even staying with him. Of course, Ms. Jackson didn't take this well at all, and that obviously spills over to the court. Here is Ms. Lipscomb's defense for her peculiar situation.
He was always labeled as my BM, which is my baby mother. BM does not spell wife. Wife is spelled W-I-F-E.
Oh, she
not
can spell,
BM.
Your Honor. Wow. Okay.
So it didn't dawn on me to ask, are you married now? Because if you're married now, why have you been living in a room for 3 to 4 months? And I
He
have a
wasn't
key
in
to
the
your
room for
room.
3 to 4
I got
months.
clothes in your room. I'm at your room
She had
every
a pair
day,
of
every
panties,
night.
Your Honor,
I'm
in
at
his
your room
room.
every
A
day,
pair
every
of
night. I've
panties,
never
Your
seen
Honor.
this woman.
From here it looks like the primary culprit here is Mr. Jackson, because he apparently didn't tell Ms. Lipscomb that he was married, and he also didn't tell Ms. Jackson that he was going around telling everyone she was just his baby mama. And one more thing, when Ms. Jackson found out about all of this, she found a way to send her husband to jail that night. Seriously, she says so herself.
My husband went to jail that night, Your Honor. He and
You sent them to jail
I was
over
angry
bogus.
enough,
He called
Your
the police
Honor.
and said
I was
that he jumped
angry
on her
enough
and sent them to jail.
to send
made
him to
lose his
jail, Your
job in
Honor.
his
It was an
room.
impulsive decision, and I understand it was not the right decision, Your Honor.
Stupid.
But yes, I sent him to jail because I knew that he had some legal issues going on in another state. The next morning, I go to the room to find Miss Lipscomb laying in the bed crying.
I
like she
told
just
you I
lost
was
her
going back
puppy.
to the room
Like
when you
her
was in the
puppy
car
died.
talking to me.
This is properly insane. But we've got to meet Mr. Jackson and understand the mastermind of this steamy hot pile of gory mess. And look at him, there he is. Judge Lauren then asks him the question everyone wants to ask.
He says she had no idea you had a wife.
No, she didn't, because I never mentioned it to her, Your Honor.
So that part of her statement is true. You never told her you were married.
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Jackson, you are the perpetrator of this mess. Because I'm gonna be straight up. When Miss Lipscomb first started talking, I didn't believe for 1 minute that she didn't really know you were married. Until you sat down in this chair and confirmed the lie. You told her.
Well, Mr. Jackson, anything less than the truth is a lie, so that was actually a lie. You wouldn't believe it, but Ms. Jackson bought items worth nearly $1,000 for Miss Lipscomb's baby because she said she understood her position as a mother, and despite that, they still argue like mortal enemies, just like they are doing here.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your
She
Honor,
told
it
me
was
that
never
that
a
gentleman
secret that I
was
had
taking
a
care.
boyfriend in the beginning. Your husband knew just like you
Your
knew, so
Honor,
don't act
she
like it
said
was a
that the young
secret that I
man
was
was
dealing
taking
with
care
anybody.
of her when she was sick, Your Honor. She said that the young man was
And yes,
taking
he
care of
did,
her.
and your husband know
and
that too.
it
So
was-
what else are you
that
trying
it was
to
the
prove?
young man's baby. From my standpoint, it's a community baby. It's anybody's baby because she's community
It
shared
ain't
property.
yours.
Wow. If you missed that, Ms. Jackson is claiming that this baby isn't her husband's because Ms. Lipscomb is what some might call a community ride. But community ride or not, Mr. Jackson's name is on the birth certificate of her child, and Mr. Jackson is the child's father in the eyes of the law. How about that? And things did get worse.
This woman is delusional. The whole time I was pregnant,
I'm delusional
she
when
swore
I'm
that
married
she
and
was
you're messing
pregnant.
with my husband.
She's been pregnant 4 times since I have had my daughter.
Your Honor,
Sitting
what she's
right here
not
that she
telling you
sent
that
me
I'm
in
pregnant
May.
now. That's
You
the part
sent me
that
out.
you hadn't admitted
I
to.
told you every time.
Hold on, hold
Every time.
on. Let's get some order.
Every time.
What did you just say, Miss Jackson?
I'm pregnant now. I'm due May 5th. Mr. Jackson knows about it. I've invited him to doctor's appointments. He and I talked about it. He said to me,
What? This is incredible. Seriously. It's hard to talk about this case with my jaw still on my desk. And Ms. Lipscomb is still seeing Mr. Jackson, while he's technically still married to Miss Jackson. Yes, that's all true. And then Judge Lauren says, we all want to say.
And I'm being generous with my language. I don't know if you all think you scoring points or impressing anybody with this tit-for-tat nonsense, but you just look silly.
Your Honor,
Because
that's
ultimately,
disrespectful.
he's not fighting for either one of y'all.
Your Honor, and that's
He's sitting over here, quiet, just watching. a random tennis match with two women going back and forth, and he's sitting there with a smirk on his face like, I'm done with all this nonsense.
Yup. Who's worse, the coward or the person carrying the coward's child? Anyway, this is enough drama. It's time to check out the results and close this chapter forever.
Mr. Jackson, you are not the father.
Thank you. It's still over. It's still over, Your Honor.
Now it's not even her husband's child. After all of this, what about this beautiful little baby? Do you know who her father is?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is he gonna wanna be a part of her life?
No, probably not.
Mrs. Pickens admits to sleeping with 2 other men while involved with Mrs. Jackson's son, who's now incarcerated. But she says that despite this, she's absolutely certain that her daughter is Ms. Jackson's granddaughter, and Ms. Jackson insists that that's a lie. Here is how Ms. Jackson sees it.
She came to my home with her mother and another family member. Let me remind you, this child, I never even heard of this young lady.
That's because you don't have a relationship with your son.
Yes, I do.
But
I have a relationship. He lives in my household.
I knew your son before
He lives
I
in
met
my
you.
household.
I knew your son
and he
before
never
I met
mentioned her.
Okay, let's get some order, ladies.
Yes.
Miss Pickens, I'm gonna come to you, but I want to understand. Miss Jackson, you say you never heard of
Never
Miss
heard
Pickens?
of her. He
You
never
never
mentioned
heard
her.
about a baby?
Yeah, that sounds super crazy, but Ms. Jackson swears that's exactly what happened. Anyway, Miss Pickens has this to say about the whole issue.
I did believe that it was one of the guys that I was dating, but her
That
son,
would be biologically the answer. It was one of the guys you were sleeping with.
Yeah, he pursued
How many
me.
guys were you sleeping with?
2.
She don't know.
2.
She don't know. She
When I
don't
met
know.
him, I had a boyfriend.
Exactly.
Me and the boy stopped.
So she also said
Me
she's
and the boy
a cheater.
stopped.
Hold on
Me
now,
and
Miss
the boy-
Jackson, let her speak.
Dear heavens, this is so messy. It's clear Miss Pickens was sleeping with many other men, and it's also clear that Miss Jackson desperately doesn't want Miss Pickens to have her grandchild. Anyway, both women get into another fight, and Judge Lauren has to bang her gavel to get them to quiet down.
You was having unprotected
when
sex with more than one man.
When we broke
That's
up,
why.
I did
No,
start
because
talking
she
to
said it.
somebody
Hold on.
else. I did start talking to somebody else.
Ladies, I can't understand a word any of you all are saying.
Okay.
We can't understand them either, Judge. Mrs. Pickens says she first thought the other man was her baby's father, but then she changed her mind and started believing that Ms. Jackson's son is her baby's father. And why would she do that? Well, the answer is so incredible that you've got to hear it from her yourself.
Your mind and why?
When he pursued me, calling me and like, oh, well, that's my baby, this, that. So I
So
was
when
like,
you say he pursued you, you
Yes.
meant when you had this baby,
Yes.
Miss Jackson's son called
Yes.
you and said,
Yes.
that's my baby.
yes. And she looked just like him.
And you felt like there's a
Yes.
resemblance, she looks like him, and
Yes.
he's saying, this is my baby.
Yes.
So-
he ain't never denied it. If he did, he denied her around them.
Your Honor, I will agree.
So you think they look alike?
Let's be real indeed. Judge Lauren might think that both women would quiet down because of the talking to she gave them earlier, but of course she'd be wrong, because they just continued arguing.
Because your child is
But
not mine.
I'm just saying, if my daughter was not yours, you would have never took the time and be like, well, she could come over to my house. Well, you can come over to my house and spend. You can come over with your daughter and spend the night.
That's
I'm just saying,
because that's the simple fact
grown woman?
because
I'm
my
just saying,
son
but
is
at the end
claiming
of the day,
this
I'm
is his
just
child.
saying-
And now Miss Pickens is saying that at first Ms. Jackson expressed interest in her baby and wanted to establish a relationship, but Ms. Jackson says that never actually happened. And of course they shout all of this at each other.
Establish a relationship.
Never.
Yes.
With
Never.
the baby.
Yes.
Can I
Never.
just say-
I never
say
had
one second, ma'am.
I never
Say-
established
say-
a relationship with this child.
say-
We got
give
text
her a lot of
messages
text.
that will even sit up here and say I never
Lying.
established a
Lying.
relationship.
I'm
That
just
child been to
saying,
my house
if
3
I-
times.
if
If that's the case, Your Honor,
Listen, we can either get this resolved or y'all can
can't.
go on back home and act a
can't.
fool in the street, because you're not going to act it up in here.
Hopefully that will be the end of that. The judge even had to send Jerome to stand between both women to stop all the cross-talking. Anyway, why does Ms. Jackson doubt this baby in the first place? Let's see her speak about it.
doubt
Came over
was
there
for the simple fact of my son looks more like her
So
mother.
you're saying the first part of your doubt is you don't feel like the baby looks like your son.
Exactly.
Okay,
No
and
grandmother
next,
connection.
you don't
She-
have a grandmother connection.
No.
What, meaning when you look at the baby, you
I
don't
do
have
not-
that feeling that
Exactly.
this
is my grandchild. I have 2 grandchildren that I love dearly and take very good care of them. And
She
not
just
with this
had her
child, I
baby, so
can't.
how do you know?
Okay.
Wow, that's a really healthy list of lies there. Is Ms. Pickens really that much of a liar? And if she is there any reason we should take her seriously? Anyway, Miss Jackson continues with her really strong allegations.
lied about a second pregnancy?
Yes. When she found out Aaliyah was pregnant, she is very jealous of Aaliyah. She's in competition with Aaliyah. So when she found that out, she sat
I'm
up
just
here and
saying,
said
no,
she was
I
pregnant.
don't know.
So Miss Pickens, did you
Yes, I
lie
did.
about
Yes,
a second
I did.
pregnancy?
Yes, I was
Why?
trying to her hurt. I was kind of hurt. Yes, I did lie. And the only reason how you know I lied because I told your son that I lied.
So Ms. Jackson does have a point about not trusting Ms. Pickens. And then Ms. Pickens' mother jumps into the argument to make it a proper shouting and screaming match.
I'm not gonna say what my child don't do wrong and what she is, because at times she is wrong. But at the same time, if she having a problem with Aaliyah, why do this one gotta get it? This grown woman. So my child's 19 and I got a 30-something-year-old woman, I'm talking, jumping in at the same time.
So just to clarify, Aaliyah seated here
both
is
of them
Ms.
go back and
Jackson's
forth.
son's other child's mother.
Yeah.
Phew, what a case. Anyway, it's time to read the DNA test results and see exactly what's happening here. Is Ms. Jackson's son the father of Ms. Pickens' child, or is it the other man? Let's find out.
Mrs. Jackson, you are not her grandmother.
Got you.
Hold on.
Thank you, God. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Mama, she just came out with that thing. I need order. Court is in recess.
Miss Benskin might not know who the father of her baby is because she had a DNA test conducted on 2 other guys before deciding to try her luck with Mr. Haskett. Miss Benskin here insists that Mr. Haskett is the biological father of her baby, and Mr. Haskett says that it is a lie and that she has slept with way too many men to count. He also says she is a money-hungry liar. Here is how Ms. Benskin puts it.
He cannot hold a job. He has not held a job for a very long time. He's already been to jail once for it, and he's still not paying.
So you say you're here to do him a favor, because you need to get this legal situation out in the open, get the paternity confirmed, because you fear Mr. Haskett's about to go to jail.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, that is mighty nice of Ms. Benskin to do, right? Anyway, Miss Scott, who is Mr. Haskett's girlfriend, says that Ms. Benskin is a liar because she has received a lot of money. But he is still owing, so no one knows exactly how the logistics of that works. The issue now is that Mr. Haskett has been named the father by default, so he wants to get out of that with a negative DNA test. So how did these two even make a baby?
We've known each other for a long time, and he had wrote me on social media, asked me to come hang out. We hung out a couple times. We went to a party.
Okay, so you went to a party. What was the nature of the relationship in your estimation, Mr. Haskett?
Friendship.
Just a friend?
Yes.
This was not you trying to start a relationship?
It started out to be something different, but like...
And Margaret came back into the picture, and he wanted to be back with her, which I understand. They have a daughter together, but doesn't mean he has to push my daughter off to the side.
Well, that is not very clear, but at least it is something, so let's get right to it. What is the basis of Mr. Haskett's paternity doubt? It has to be something really strong, right? Well, let us see how Mr. Haskett describes it.
She told me she had to pick up her friend from work, and after we had picked him up, he got in the car, he kissed her on the cheek and said that he loved her, and I just kind of stepped back from the situation and looked at it like, what?
You're in the car and this guy kisses Miss Benskin and says, I love you?
Yes.
And he doesn't think anything's going on between the two of you?
No, Your Honor.
So you're just sitting there as a friend?
Yes.
Oh, that definitely throws a huge spanner in the works. Ms. Benskin says that is a complete lie, and the guy Mr. Haskett is speaking about is a good friend who she never had any sexual contact with. She also says that kiss never happened, and she has never been intimate with that guy. So somebody here is lying. Through all of this, Ms. Benskin insists that Mr. Haskett is her child's biological father.
Ms. Benskin, there is no doubt in your mind Mr. Haskett is your child's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
You have no doubt?
No doubt. My daughter's 4. She deserves to know who her dad is, and she doesn't. Brent, we lived 3 houses down from him for 2 months. 2 months we lived down there. He did not see her, not one time.
That sounds really cold, especially when there is a strong chance that the child could belong to Mr. Haskett. However, his girlfriend, Ms. Scott, sees things a bit differently.
I was at the bar, and I'm talking to this girl. She's one of my friend's friends. We're sitting here, and she realizes that, oh, Brandon's my child's dad. And she's like, oh, well, I know so-and-so.
I've never been to court other than with Brandon, and he didn't show up. That's his fault, not mine.
Well, we do know now you don't have to go to court to have a DNA test. Yeah. So did you test anybody else?
No. Yeah, I have proof where she says that
they would have tested.
I'd like to see that.
It is very rare for us to get out-and-out proof in paternity court, except for the DNA test itself, of course. But Ms. Scott isn't here to play around. She has printed the messages she got from Ms. Benskin on Facebook, and they are more than enough proof for the argument she is making. Here is Judge Lauren reading out the evidence.
Me and blank went to court and DNA was done because he actually showed up to court, unlike Brandon, and DNA DNA prove she wasn't Blanks. That only leaves Brandon, honey. And then, Miss Scott, you say, where's the papers?
There wasn't no court date.
Wait a minute, Miss Benskin, you just testified that you never ever had a question or an issue with any other man being the biological.
And I didn't.
So what is this text about?
They made me mad and I didn't want Kinsley to be his.
Very convenient, Miss Benskin. Very, very convenient. The fact that she sort of lied in court also makes this a little bit more messy. Anyway, do you guys think that excuse makes any sense? Well, it is time to see the results, but Judge Lauren has one more question for Ms. Benskin.
Well, as I said, I have the results for you, but I do want to ask you, Ms. Benskin, one more time. No lying.
No lying.
Just tell the truth. Is there any other possible father
No.
for Kinsley?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Jerome?
Okay then, it is time to get the results from DNA diagnostics and find out if Ms. Benskin is really telling the truth or if there's another game afoot here.
Mr. Haskett, you are the father.
Now how to, so we get to see her, right?
Yeah, I told you guys. You guys went for visitation.
Without you.
Listen. We've gotten the answer. Now, as we go forward, we have to do so in a responsible way.